music. It's Nancy and Ann Wilson of Heart, and you're Yahoo Music. I think with our new album, Fanatic, right now, I don't know exactly how it fits in, but I do know that it feels real. It's completely what makes us happy to do, and there's no other reason going into it to make it sound like anything or anyone else besides ourselves. And it's even louder than the one before. It's really loud. It's really a rock album. Strong. It's muscular. And it's just really fun to be in a rock band and rock, you know, because there's like not that many left, I guess, you know. There's not a lot of bands.
Well, yeah, but you know, like when you've been around as long as we have, you know,
as old as dirt,
like as old as the hills, like you've heard people say in the 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s, you know, rock is dead. But somehow it always manages to reinvent itself, to be awake and alive from the inside out. Well, I'll eat my hat if I live to see a time when rock is completely dead, because it doesn't work that way. It's too crazy.
It keeps kicking.
Yeah. Well, I would think that it's probably easier to get noticed, you know, but today, to get a start. But then once you get started, some of the same pitfalls are still there. What we just talked about the hypersexuality and just, I mean, some of that stuff really hasn't improved that much. It's just shape-shifted.
And don't you think in many ways it's possibly harder now? Because there's, you know, unless you're in college radio and college level kind of music, the pop music scene is so extremely sexualized and hypersexualized, and you know, and I'm a Katy Perry fan, and I took my kids to go see her, you know, and it was a great show, and she really can sing and she can really play, and the hypersexual aspect of it is at least, you know, kind of like confectionery, you know, it's very cartoonish, but and in a lot of ways, it's really, comparatively speaking, it's very kind of innocent, you know. And to me, that's a bit refreshing, at least. But, you know, it's an interesting thing, because in 15 years, is she still going to be a candy cane?
Well, hopefully she will undo that zipper and step out of there.
Yeah.
Somebody fresh.
She seems like a survivor.
The thing about, that's the tricky thing about sexuality that I would tell my daughter or my kids, like, sex should not be confused with power. Because what's so powerful about doing something that you were given by nature?
It's not currency.
It's not currency. Hopefully you don't confuse, especially young women, don't confuse their sexuality with their true personal power.
In the 90s, they were pushing against the 80s and the big MTV imaging of the 80s and the, you know, and the sexualized 80s. So that was a really cool time for music, because women were getting into the more rebellious act of being in bands like Sleater-Kinney and, you know, a lot of punk sort of girl bands and really cool stuff that was happening. And, you know, after Kurt Cobain died, though, a lot of the wind was taken out of those sails. And, you know, but still, you go see Pearl Jam. They're just one of the best bands on the planet. And Soundgarden and Alice in Chains, you know, they're still incredibly great. So, Seattle.
I think, I think that was an interesting time for women. The 90s was interesting because, as you say, it was pushing against the 80s, which was a very vacuous, you know, MTV vacuous thing. And so women went all the way the other way. You know, suddenly you had Courtney Love with her makeup running down and just, you know, mouthing off and just going all the way the other way. So somewhere in the middle, there was progress.
Yeah.
I think.
The secret of longevity.
Not dying?
Not dying.
Well,
walking and talking, taking your vitamins, and a sense of humor. I think a 10-ton sense of humor in order to deal with the drama. You know, there's so much unnecessary drama everywhere, and sort of political balancing acts to do, and you get exhausted and you're traveling. I mean, the travel is not easy. So you really have to have your sense of humor, and in our case, we're a family. Our sister Lynn travels along with us, and we're tight. We're a military family from way back, so, you know, we come to play, and we don't take it lightly, what we're doing, you know. So
yeah,
we're serious about it.
Yeah, and I think that for anyone who wants to have a career and wants to stay around, it's really important to remember that there are lots of pitfalls, lots of holes you can fall into, and you can be led around by your nose, and that can be the very thing that puts the lid on you right there. If you say yes to too much stuff, you say yes to the wrong things, and you don't say no to the, you know,
the right thing.
Sometimes. And for women, it's very easy to, especially when you're really young, to fall into the hole of using your sexuality, you know, in place of your talent to get someplace. And then, you know, holy shit, what happens? You get older, and what you got? So that's something for you. Well, for everybody, you know, but especially for young women to remember. I mean, what is it about you that's great? You know, is it your chest? Well, maybe, yeah, but 10 years from now, is it still, you know what I mean? What do people really want to see from you that's different, that's unique?
And, you know, there's a lot of things about sort of surface, frivolous pop music and sexy music. It's just like cotton candy, you know, it melts, it's gone, it just poof, it doesn't stick. And if you can manage to wrangle some poetry and something a little uplifting besides just him and her and me and him and me, you know, then it'll probably stick around a little bit better.
Well, listen to us. We were raised like we were raised on Joni Mitchell, so
right.
You know, and Bob Dylan and Paul Simon and stuff. So
the curse, the blessing and the curse.
Yeah. Well, the album that we put out in 2010, called Red Velvet Car, was the first album we had done. It took us about 6 years because we were touring and, you know, starting families and all this kind of stuff. We were able to put out an album in 2010. We figured we had the songs, you know, we were ready. And we had formed a relationship with Ben Mink, who's a great producer and musician friend. And so once we put out Red Velvet Car, we knew Ben Mink already. We had a little chemistry going with him. We had a good songwriting
collaboration.
Yeah, collaboration with each other and with Ben Mink going. So in basically the time it took to write songs and make sure they were the right ones and still be on tour all the time, we got Fanatic together.
When we first started out in the late 70s, we were just hell-bent on getting into a recording studio and getting some experience as live players and songwriters. And, you know, and I think when you're kind of in your early 20s like that, you're not really thinking that far ahead. Like, well, I hope I'm doing this in my mid-50s, you know, like.
You're really not.
As a mom with kids in school, you know, you don't really project that much into the future. And so now, you know, looking over the rich history of everything we've been able to do and keep doing, it's pretty wonderful because, you know, it gets richer and more sweet as you can maintain a job that you love in your life and your kids can appreciate and be proud of you for, and your family supports. So it's always a surprise every day.
I think it says exorcise because shortly before that sentence, it talks about us having made a devil's bargain in the 80s to revitalize our career, but to play songs written by other people, and that was a devil's bargain. To have hits with songs you didn't write yourself. I mean, for us, that was a devil's bargain because we've always written our own stuff, except for the 80s when we had our biggest hits. So that was the devil's bargain we made, and to go back, now and put all this stuff out in a retrospective way, it's like getting rid of some of that tension, because we did come back to ourselves and we did start to write our own stuff again. And so to put out the whole retrospective, people can see the whole arc of what we did.
Mm-hmm. And having a brand new album is particularly important right now because it's not just looking back, an overview of everything we've done. This was really important, and all these eras were really important to get us here. But here we go, to the next, to the next.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Good.
Well, yeah, in the 80s, it was a double-edged sword because it was us doing less of our own material and people telling us who to record, whose songs to record, like everybody else was doing at the time. And artistically, it was less gratifying, but financially, it was super gratifying.
Yeah.
So it was the devil, that in that way, it was a crossroads.
Yeah, I think it was a period of years from about 1985 to 1990 where, we just kind of, like our creative selves kind of took a seat behind our showbiz selves, It was nice to come back to the artistic
90s came
selves.
back. Yeah. The 90s happened, and we're like, thank God.
Yeah, really.
It's guitars.
I know
again.
you.
It's guitars in garages again. Like where we started out. And all the layer cake, over-fraught and overwrought production value of the 80s that was so pain-driven, ego-driven excess, And you hear it now. It's very dated. We were so happy that guys like Nirvana and Soundgarden and Pearl Jam from our hometown, made a big dent in what was going on there. Yeah, there's a lot of huge productions in pop music, but like on college radio station, like on XMU, it's very interesting how it's come back to groove and sort of guitar or guitar grooves or loops of really cool original grooves that are now extended into a new form with some real pitch corrected, cool sounding stuff.
Yeah, I tell you, whenever I hear a song or a group that steps outside the formula, and you can really hear somebody's voice, or you can really hear somebody's, touching a groove, it's just like cool water to me. It's just
like
so...
Alabama Shakes.
Right, yeah.
That, like her song.
Very refreshing.
It's just so real. And, Adele did that, and I do see that coming in again, because people are kind of like, really? Another pitch-corrected song? It's all, you don't know who they are. They all sound the same after a while.
Well, it's like with Botox or something. I say that auto-tune and Botox are similar in that you take out the imperfections, but you also take out the personality.
Character.
You take out whoever it is. You just forget who they are because they're perfect.
And then everyone is Barbie.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's an interesting thing about the auto-tuned sound of the last few years and how a lot of the young singers coming into this already sound auto-tuned even before they're auto-tuned.
Yeah.
The rock and roll accent has shifted to the auto-tuned sound.
Yep.
It's the way singers are singing now.
Yeah.
It
makes you want to kind of take them by the neck and
throttle them. Oh, but then you'd have to break people's hearts. Tell them, tell them they're not good.
Yeah, and I don't know.
That would be hard.
I just don't know whether I stand on the planet ready to judge somebody else is singing, because the minute you hold them to a set of criteria that's right or wrong or good or bad, you've missed the point. You've missed their soul. So I don't know if I'd be the best.
Yeah, but the money's good.
Oh, okay then.
Okay.
It's curious to me that people would equate singing with, it's almost like a sporting event now where how many backflips can you do,
in the course of 30 seconds.
Right.
Yeah.
If it's going to be sports, let's call it sports. But singing is more like getting out of the way, letting your soul sing out. So that's just what makes me happy whenever I hear somebody do it, like Adele or like Amy Winehouse or any of these young people who maybe they're not perfect, in some way, but they have something that they're able to just open up and just let the simple thing pour, and that's awesome.
That is awesome.
Well,
pioneers. We're pioneer ladies.
Well, it's hard when you're inside something to have that kind of objectivity about it. It always makes me personally nervous to hear somebody say, well, you're a pioneer, because pioneers are in the museum. They're in Boot Hill, we're still going.
They're taking a dirt nap.
Yeah. Right. I think the jury's still out. I think that if we helped loosen any constraints at all, then I think we have been successful. I hope we still continue.
If any girls got braver because we did it first, then we did something right.
We hope that 2012 will be a big year. We've seen some big years. We've seen a lot of big years, but the thing that makes 2012 really special, I think, is that it's a time when we're sort of offloading a whole bunch of stuff and we're walking away lighter because of it. Like we're going into the future with our new album, and we're going, here, you guys, digest this, the book, all this stuff. Hopefully, people are going to understand us better, know us better, going into the future.
Yeah, it's cool the box set and the book, and you can see all the lifetimes that makes up a lifetime. And, there's a lot of things that are surprising, I think, for people to learn about who we've been and who we are. And a lot of that's about humor and, and not just ladies and rock, we're these we're weird people, We've come through it a very strange path, and it's all somehow worked out.
Yeah.